Okay, recap, week 40. Here we go. That was May 24th, 2026. Kind of a crazy week. It was Memorial Day weekend, which always means a hit on the attendance a little bit on holidays. But even crazier, there was a miscommunication with the club. And so they told me we were doing it at 5:30 because we got bumped by an a cappella group. That shows our status in the world. A cappella, a dead art form, is kicking us out, but it was fine. So we moved back to 5:30. Then we got there. It turned out the a cappella group was next week. And so we ended up having to go to the Jackalope, which is a bar right around the corner on 6th Street, and adapt that space. But the bartender was cool. There was a back area that was actually shaded and fanned, so it was pretty good. So it sufficed, put it that way. Education out in the wild, very unpredictable. So because we're in such a harder environment like that, we went right into learning about roasts and roast battles, which is what we're on right now in the stand-up accelerator, which is what it's going to be starting this week. And I went through some basic concepts, including that like public and private insulting are such a part of human cultures, and they have been forever across the board. Old tribal culture used to insult demons and spirits and the dead to try to keep away from things, and they try to not insult the dead so that the dead don't take retribution against them. All sorts of crazy stuff when you actually look into roasts, because they're based on insults, any type of negative communication towards another entity. And we do this constantly, also privately. Most of us don't say all of it out loud unless we're in our cars. But inside our heads, we are constantly taking shots at other people around us for all their shortcomings, which are clearly many, while ours are few. So we talked about that, and we talked about the difference between writing roast jokes, which is just the straight up invective insult form, and roast battles. Roast jokes are usually used in there's different status. So I may be the only person talking, or I'm writing these jokes for somebody else to use, but it's not one-on-one, face-to-face, personal and interpersonal insulting. Roast battles are one-on-one interpersonal insulting, and both interactions are about at the same status. And all that matters a lot because it changes the entire nature of the jokes and the way the jokes hit and what is allowed and what isn't allowed, which brings up an interesting area that basically all roasting and all insulting has to be done under a social contract. There are limits no matter what. How hard can you hit? How true can you be? How artful do you have to be to get away with the insult? And those social contracts change everywhere. They change across cultures, they change across locations. Families all have a different level of insulting or not insulting that they use. So you've got to be aware, first of all, when you get into a roast situation, of what is the social contract that's operating. If you break it, you will learn very quickly, because people tend to swarm like ants to reset social contracts. If you say something that's too racist or too sexist or too bald-faced attack or too mean or too cruel or not cruel enough, too nice, then again, you haven't followed the social contract in that location. So basically there are 4 parts of writing for a roast. First, you have to pick a target. And people usually think of a person, but you can roast anything. Places, historical figures, events, anything can be roasted and lampooned, which is the other thing. Roast kind of covers an awful lot of comedy invective. Lampoons, satires, insults, attacks, all sorts of ways of demeaning people with comedy. So you got to have a target. Locate something specific that you want to write about. Second, you have to gather information about that target. And the more personal and the more specific and the broader collection that you can find, the better. Because you're looking for things about them that are failures, foibles, crimes, sins, losses, mistakes, shortcomings, anything that can be insulted. And you need specific details of those things. Because if you have just generics, you end up writing generic jokes. Like if somebody, for example, tells you they're from Michigan. So Michigan is kind of pre-soaked with humor about, it's cold, There's the UP, the Upper Peninsula, that's this very sort of rural area. It's got Detroit, it's got Flint, which are both already pre-stoked with humor. So, but to make jokes about that, people have already done it. So you need to sort of drill down as quickly as you can when you're gathering information about your target. If you're a writer, a lot of times you've got time, people who write the roasts for Kevin Hart and things like that have months to research things and write many jokes. If you're in a roast battle, usually you have time to prepare, who you're going to be roasting, and so you can do some research. And a lot of times it's people who know each other. But the first key to doing all roasts, second key, pick a target, and then secondly, you have to gather really specific, actionable information. Same thing with crowd work. When we talk about crowd work, we'll pull that back up, because in order for your mind to work comically, especially when you're writing stuff, even fast in the moment, you have to have specific, detailed information. Third, pick an area to insult. And I've pulled some of this stuff up in ChatGPT, and I'll try to drop it into the Facebook group so people can see the list that I found. Because these next 2 points, the pick an area to insult, and then the last one, be artful about it, are incredibly complex. You can insult anything. So you can start at the top of somebody's head and move all the way down to the tip of their toes and find things to insult along the way, just for physical insults. And that has nothing to do with, grooming and clothes and appearance and all the other things. So there are many categories that are commonly insulted, and some categories within those that are commonly insulted. You've got to pick. And some of those are more esoteric, used less, and so they're respected more. Typically, people go to appearance first, especially if somebody has a dramatic appearance about them. But it's the easiest, and so it's often the least respected. It's hard to find a really good joke within there. And that brings you to the last area. So you have to pick a target, gather information, pick an area to insult, and then make an artful insult. And insults and roast are maybe the most artful joke writing there is, because people respect the correctness of the insult, the imagination and the creativity in the insult itself, the awareness or perception of this person's failings, but they really appreciate the art of how you say it. And when you look at this, the way that roasts are written, a lot of really great joke writers love to write roast jokes because it shows off like the literary and rhetorical figures and tricks that you learn as a writer, and you can apply them here. So like chiasmus, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So it's inversion across 2 different phrases or clauses. What are they? I'm terrible with punctuation, grammar, semantic rules. But the point is that there are all these techniques that people use, even though you don't know the labels for them. And you flow those into the joke writing, especially for roast. So ask not why Jim is so fat, ask why, fat isn't so Jim, whatever. But you'll find that when you start to go into the actual jokes themselves, there are lots of substructures that get used again and again within roast writing and roast battles. So you got to learn that stuff. So we went through that stuff, and that was fun. And again, it was sort of a tough audio environment. I lost my voice at one point because I was having to shout. It's one of the things about teaching more classes like this. I've got to learn to do some voice work, because I used to lose my voice as a professor when I taught extra classes. So then we broke into teams. Everybody took a turn as the roastee, which meant everybody got to ask them questions, gather personal information, pick some insults, turn those into insult jokes. And we did that for about 20 minutes, and then we jumped up and put some people up on, there wasn't a stage, so they stood on the bricks by the tree, and we roasted them based on some of the stuff that they'd already gathered and some stuff that we gathered in the moment. And Ajit and Xavier and Casey and Rico and the new girl, Allison? I don't know, I think it's Allison. Casey sent me a message about what her name was. Let's see. No, can't find it. But they all got roasted for different things. Allison Again, I think it's the new girl's name. Just a new person at the workshop. I got roasted for looking too Ren Fair, which I thought was fun. And because it's a friendly workshop and people are all friendly with each other, nobody really went hardcore. Or some that sort of edged towards that a little bit. Like somebody said Casey looked like a gay cowboy, like she dressed like a gay cowboy, and that one just stuck with her a little bit. But it stayed friendly, it was fun, and we got a sample of how do you do that. So next week, I think we're having a guest roast battler, Jessica Misitano, who's a local who does a lot of roast battling. And she was going to headline the Saloon Show and offered to do a guest lecture on roast battles. So I thought that'd be fun. So if you're looking to find out about that, we're going to be at 5:30 again next Sunday down at the Creek and Cave, 5:30 to 7:30. I think it's pretty stable. I'll make sure to reinforce that online on the Instagram and the Facebook group so that everybody knows for sure. But I always check to make sure because it's a little unstable with our location. So we always have to make sure at the last minute what the deal is. Hopefully from going forward, we won't have the thing where I show up and am told new information, because now I have everybody's contact information so I can check it at multiple places. So there you go, that's it. Roast away. It's not, I love writing roast. I'm terrible at receiving roast. I don't like criticism for a lot of different reasons, but I recognize this about myself. And so, plus when somebody hits me or zings me, like I have to stop myself from zinging them back really hard, because I've been doing this for so long. I'm pretty perceptive about their failures and what might hurt. And I can turn it into an artful joke pretty quickly. So I try not to do too much, because there's a thing about roasting and insults that if you really gut somebody, hit them way too hard, it can hurt your relationship and it can hurt them psychologically. So I try not to do that. Every once in a while I've done something like that in a stand-up show where I hit somebody and the whole audience, oh my God, that's gonna hurt for a while. So I try not to do that to people in real life, even though I'm trained to do it. But I do like writing roast jokes. So there you go, we will see you again next time.